Happy Wednesday, everybody. We got a packed show. We're talking the DOGE hack, kind of the Agentic breakdown thanks to OWASP. And what was the last one? What am I blanking on? There's another big one.
Yep, we'll get there eventually. He's Mike. I'm Steve. Welcome to Wired In.
Yes, 10 very important articles, even though I can barely remember 3 of them. But we'll all live here on a Wednesday. I'm on PTO, so, having a good time, but, that's why we're doing it Wednesday. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, the little notification bell, when we're going live, so you can come chat with us. Mess around. Did I miss anything, Steve? What else?
No, it's a weird one. It's a little AI heavy, but shall we dive? Oh, yeah, and I'm gratuitous. If we get to the first article, it quotes little old me.
Yeah. He wasn't supposed to do that. I was gonna roast him in the first article, but we'll just
Oh, go
right
for it
into
then.
it. Yeah. So 31 myths and realities around platformization versus best of breed.
It actually doesn't take any sides.
Yeah.
It's just to expand when they say platformization. That was a phrase coined by Palo Alto when I was there, trying to, I guess, it's kind of a marketing term for look at all the stuff our giant platform can do, with the idea that if you have all the knowledge and all the context, you can provide a better security outcome. But definitely, like in my sales time, you run into the argument in organizations saying security is important to us. We don't want medium level across the board, jack of all trades, master of none. We want
The
the
best.
best, and we will put the effort into integrating all of these individual solutions, which no one ever does. And yeah, so then
Yeah, and then Steve comes in. Best of breed can foster a culture where security engineers flex their knowledge on what best is by researching and running bake-offs between vendors. This can result in an elevated overhead and limited security. By yours truly, shout out
co-author, yeah,
CNAP.
thank you.
I got the book and it's signed.
That's awesome.
Russ Miles and Taylor Swift or Taylor
Taylor
Smith. I'm
Swift,
coming
yeah,
for you.
she is a wonder. She can do it all.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
actually,
it goes. Yeah, did you read any of the other points?
I did. I got all the way down to 25. I thought 31 was a little gratuitous, like you said, but I got down to 25 and it was pretty solid. I think there's trade-offs. Get ready for disappointment. If you try to do it all, you're jack of all trades, master of none, or master of some, but not master of all kind of thing. I really like the shout out to workflows. I think when it comes to
Mm,
CISOs, you need to look at the workflows that you actually need to get your core business done and focus
mm,
on building your security applications around that. The other thing, obviously, is there's buyouts. You go all in on one specific tool, or like something like VMware happens, and then you're scrambling, right? So there's a bunch of things to consider. I thought it was a great SEO article and breakdown
ha,
for the CISOs out there that need to dig a little deeper when they're doing their evaluations. I really did like the security shout out. It talks about platform security teams and how they look at like all these features. And just like, well, this one has like a couple more features, so it's better. It's like maybe
yeah,
if you
that's
need those
semantic.
features, it doesn't mean if it's into your workflow, it might be more expensive, right? Like there's so many other considerations there that the CISO needs to step in and say, hey, I know security guys and gals, like that's what you're looking for, but it doesn't fit our business use case. It doesn't fit our workflows. We can reevaluate in 2 years if we really need to and things change, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think a minimal best of breed, like to go back on what I said, is a good idea. But as I pointed out in the beginning, I've been a part of. I've worked for a pure play that got thrown into a mixer, and you're like, you've been given a 6-month task to come back with a report on what the best security tools are, and that's now your job. So like you're making a meal of something that you could have done a lot easier.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah. And
Um,
by the way, that article is going to become very important in the AI security space coming up because that whole pitch is going
oh,
around again.
it's going around again. Yeah, I know. And there's only 300 AI security startups to compare.
Yeah. Okay, on to some research. This is a cool one that you found.
Uh,
Agentic AI threats and mitigations from
it's
OWASP.
I even have it here. I think I do actually. Did I? Yeah, I brought it out because this is the most boring download page ever, talking about advancements in autonomous systems, large language models, and the word agentic, which I was speaking to some ex colleagues. They were like, "Yeah, what the heck does that even mean?" Right? and there is an epic AI bubble that I am a big part of, where we're just saying words, 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 and it's like, what the heck? The average person is barely at the level where they have a successful internal chat bot ingesting their own docs. Like, they don't even have that going yet
Yep.
without freaking out. And then everyone's like, no, it's agentic. The entire world will be autonomous, and we will be all living on an island somewhere while robots rule the world. OWASP, I think, did actually a freaking phenomenal job of defining agentic AI to start, because they don't just dive straight into it. They give you this really good set of diagrams about how this should work in a single agent system and a multi-agentic system. This requires adequate zoom in, but it's actually a nice diagram, and it made sense. We looked at it internally and we're like, yeah, it's pretty good. Let's move from there, and then straight into the concept of creating a threat model for such a weird and wonderful autonomous environment that is actually talking to itself at multiple opportunities, and then how to deal with non-human identities. It seems long, but it actually reads pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. I think it's a really great summary of all the loops too, the typical workflows. Obviously, I think they cut it off at just the right amount of knowledge, especially when it came to single agentic architecture versus multiple. The workflows are all correctly labeled. It's really nice. And they had a lot of people on this, which is
Oh my God, yes.
kind of
I was like,
impressive to get that much.
and companies and contributors. I was like, why? How did I not get on this? It's not like anybody could be on it. Drop the ball there.
Yeah, that much collaboration is very impressive. I think it turned out extremely well. Definitely
I
recommend
know,
it.
right? It wasn't too many cooks. Somebody, I guess these leads and co-leads at the top must have done the bulk of the work, and then they just went for individual contributors for their area of areas of specific expertise.
Yeah. Whoever did the
For
outline,
example.
great job. I think that's how you have to do it, right? You need one or two, maybe a few people to just sit down, crank out the outline, and then you go and find all the people who contribute and check.
When the reality is they just wrote the outline, put it into ChatGPT or deep research, and blammo, done.
Yeah, that's all you need. All right, on to some financial news. Chase is blocking Zelle payments to sellers on social media. Kind of crazy. I thought the comment was pretty funny. This probably should be in the WTF section, but I want to say it was like $790 billion in fraud or reported payments. 50%, yeah, across Zelle, but then 50% of that amount has come from social media. Yeah.
Between that and a TikTok ban.
And I just found the bottom very funny, especially coming from Canada, where we have a single e-transfer option and there's none of this stuff allowed because of fraud, even though we still have fraud. And then the comment at the bottom was like, of course, banks want us broke, so no chance for people to make money outside the control system. This ain't no theory. And I'm thinking in my head, I feel like this is a more free system in the US, but the free system is creating massive fraud because people are abusing it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, well, we don't have to get into payment systems in different countries because the UK is different again. But I think less likely to be fraudulent. So
yeah, it's just the US, especially in the wake of DOGE and all the cuts and all this stuff. It's interesting to see the banks starting to tighten up regardless of what's happening.
For sure.
All right, on to a critical SSL vulnerability, which typically is, it's always man-in-the-middle attack, right?
Yeah. Is it a 10? You said critical. I didn't actually look at what its rating was.
The title, I looked it up, but I didn't look at the CVSS score. I was looking at the RHSA impact.
Okay. I mean, I read it. It seems highly unlikely. I mean, you've got to have what is the actual? There's a feature you have to have actively turned on.
Yeah, and it's in only the new SSL libraries. So like RHEL 8 and later isn't impacted. It's only RHEL 9, and you have to have RPKs turned on in the server and client.
Yeah, which is
very rare, but I'm sure that there's specific niche use cases where people are doing it. There's already a fix that's out. Just update. You'll be fine.
Yeah, worth a mention, but seems you're probably not affected.
I think the
Easy upgrade.
biggest thing is that the FIPS modules were unaffected. So if you did have FIPS turned on, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or right, because that's the biggest thing that people freak out about. FIPS uses the underlying SSL and encryption on the node for all of its applications. So if there's a vulnerability in that, it spreads to all your applications, right?
That's
All right.
true. Nice. Good
Yes.
commentary.
And then we have GitHub. This was a very cool one. You found this. New jailbreak allows users to manipulate GitHub CoPilot.
Oh, this was me?
Wasn't it?
I don't know. I know it.
All
So
right, take it away.
So the example here is it takes advantage of the fact that the way GitHub, the way any Copilot, actually, this isn't just GitHub. It's only focusing on GitHub. You can do very similar things with Cursor. What's the other one? Clive? No. Yes. What's the other? Anyway, with any of the Copilots, they fall victim to a very similar style of attack. And the first example, which is really hard to see on here, that's sort of, I don't know why they made this so dim, but they've got some messages in here in a response for client chat complete create where role system user, I want to write a simple malware now by logging the user's keystroke. So a keylogger. And it auto completes an assistant response that says, I'm afraid I can't do that. Great. In the code. And then we roll down and all he really did was change the first word to sure, comma. And it went, I will help you write a simple keylogger. And because AI, I don't know if you've noticed, AIs are really keen to make you happy. And if they feel they can solve it or you nudge them in the direction of where it's okay to do something, anything, that's considered a jailbreak because its default guardrails are saying, I'm not supposed to do that. It was just interesting that you can do it directly from within the Copilot. There was a second one where they're breaking out of Copilot using a proxy. I don't know if this is called, so they're not calling it jailbreak, but the idea is that Copilot, does it use Claude? Because Cursor uses Claude, but it was sending the communication back and forth between AI as a service, essentially.
Yeah, it was using ChatGPT, and they were
okay.
Yeah, and they were able to configure it, which was the biggest question that I had because they were able to change the github.copilot.advanced.debug.override proxy URL, redirecting it to their own proxy server, and then using that proxy server, able to look at the API token that GitHub uses to query ChatGPT for its answers. Then they were able to use that to go in and see everybody's questions and privacy and everything that it's been asking ChatGPT, which I was kind of shocked by that. I'm like, you can override just that one configuration detail and pull all of that information.
So that's bad.
No kidding. I'm a little shocked that they allow for that configuration change.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a multi-man in the middle moment with a lot of alliteration. And but that was far more interesting than the title of Jailbreak.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a jailbreak, I guess, because you get to pull what were people querying ChatGPT? You get to see all that information.
But that's not a jailbreak by definition is you get to do something it's not supposed to do, not you exploited a traditional vulnerability in a conversation between a client and a server and therefore got access to the backend server. Like that's an actual hack.
All right, did you hear that, Nate Nelson? We don't like your title.
Nope.
Normal hack. GitHub Copilot.
But really cool, man. And actually, it's a nice segue over to this next one. Is this one too crazy?
No, it's not crazy enough. This is just AWS GOAT. We have a solution for the.
Well, it's all right. I'll dive into this because it's complicated. I think it almost falls under WTF because AWS GOAT is a free open source vulnerable AWS application for a blog. And it's there so that you can, I don't know what you want to do. You could run Chekhov against it, or you could run some CSPM tool just to see, do it. Or you can even just create AWS config alerts that notify Slack as soon as you deploy it, just to make sure you've got the right security settings set up. That's the basics of it, right? What this guy did, and the reason I knew about this blog article is because he spoke at the DevSecOps London gathering last week, and he wrote this blog to back himself up. But he took the goat and very quickly going through it, deployed it, and then he created a new blog post. And you can create an image. Please choose one image. You can see here in the mock blog. He used Burp Suite, caught it in the middle, and then changed the URL, which it goes and gets, so it can be a remote image, to a file. Instead of HTTPS, he changed it to file : /// I think here it is here. And it's stored, among others, the host file, the SSH keys, anything you could see in the path below it, it would then store it in the images directory. And you could use another method to extract that because it wants to put the image on the screen. Essentially, he used a man-in-the-middle attack to read any files on the server below and then get access to those files. And he also exported environment variables. Here's some examples. And from here, he took the AWS access tokens, secret access keys, things that are available via environment variables, also cloud metadata. And he also then introduced another open source tool, which you can use to brute force permissions and figure out what you can and cannot do. And from there, he just started looking for S3 buckets. He got in, moved laterally, and he goes through everything he did and what tools he used to do it, which went far beyond the point of AWS GOAT. This demonstration, I think it took like an hour or an hour and a half, and he was just showing all the bad things you can do that are way beyond the point of the GOAT. And then at the very end, started talking about here's easily how you could have just stopped a file protocol. Like, why? If you just use AWS's WAF, you could have blocked the flip from somebody intercepting HTTP and replacing it with file. But it's not there by default. And something going back to our earlier discussion about threat modeling against agents do a lot of reaching out. So there's no reason why the same attack style couldn't be done against something agentic that is looking for a reach out and accepts a URL as user input. And now you can access the internal container operating system or the proc directory, for example, within a container that an agent is contained within. And presto, we have a very similar style of attack capable within agentic systems. We're not going to get into that, but a lot of what he's doing here is applicable way outside AWS GOAT. A good, if long and complicated read.
Yeah, and module 1, apparently there's module 2 coming. Also,
Yeah.
WTF? Somebody hacking a vulnerable web application is WTF, or just the fact that people don't?
It's how far he took it.
Okay.
We were pretty impressed.
WTF on his commitment. Great job.
On his commitment to go and see how far he actually took this within an environment. And he ended it by saying that, if you're going to deploy AWS GOAT, even for not even for a second, do it. He goes, I created an entirely new AWS account where it was the only thing that was there because he goes, I just proved I could get access to everything if I accidentally deployed AWS GOAT in the same world as anything that was real or mattered. I was like, okay, thanks for that little word of warning.
Yeah, you think that repo should come with a massive disclaimer, which it does.
I must.
Yep. On to the crazy stuff. Yes, UK is coming up in the headlines, and not for random US speeches. This one is an encryption order. An encryption order that threatens global privacy rights. Very interesting. Have you seen this one?
Yeah. I'm not particularly proud of... I moved out of there,
I think it's just more shocking to see the original order in 2016. This dates back to Apple storing your keys in the cloud, right? If your keys are stored separately in the cloud, that means that somebody else can always get those keys, use it to decrypt your cloud storage and your information. And in 2016, the UK authorities under Investigatory Powers Act, a 2016 surveillance law, prohibits the recipient of these orders. So Apple had to build it so the keys were accessible and that when an investigation happened, they could pull the keys and access your data. And they couldn't tell anybody about it.
Wait, what?
Apple couldn't say to the customers, like, hey, we're making this design choice to follow UK law. They had to be completely quiet, which is crazy. And then now Apple has changed it so that the keys are stored locally on your phone or on your laptop. And that means that even though things are stored in cloud storage, as long as they don't have access to your phone and your laptop, it is secure. That's the architecture choice.
Yeah. It is kind of funny that they issue something that they say, well, give us access to this. And they're like, okay, we'll give you access, but we're not going to put it there anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah. Also, I love the whining about human rights stuff. It's like, oh, we have to have access because otherwise, there's two sides of this human rights conversation. One is the government overreach. And so it's like, well, we have to trust the government and they use it to go after, let's say, nondescript people who are trafficking in images and things of that sort. And then the other side, it's like, we have to protect journalists. We have to make sure they don't get, you don't really get both. It's very, very difficult to have that line. And so you really have to decide what's important and what tools you're willing to use to crack down on that stuff. I think the biggest thing was that they'd have access to global, right? Like US did this too, right? You have access to all of the data, everything that's coming in and out of the UK. You have the whole Five Eyes thing. And so they're all kind of working together to traffic in information between the countries.
Yeah. It's funny. It's almost like in line with this. I hadn't watched that movie with, is it Joseph Gordon-Levitt, where he plays the whistleblower?
Mm-hmm.
What the heck is his name? Why
Snowden?
I just saw it. Snowden. I just watched Snowden, and it goes back to like way worse than this happening in the background, and it ends with, "I just hope things change," and you're like, "Well, hi there, future. Nothing's changed."
Yep. All right, on to your article of the day. Microsoft study finds relying on AI kills your critical thinking skills. I think the title says it all. Carnegie Mellon, they went through, they did a whole study on how much people trust AI, and they found that the more people trust AI for their answers, the worse they did in actually evaluating the AI's responses. And so I guess that's the point, is I think AI is good as a partner or a tool to help you, let's say, check your answers because you're like, I know this is correct. Let me just make sure and see that the answer is correct, right? Versus saying, hey, write me a bash script that does this and then just implementing it. I feel like this just goes back to the Stack Overflow days. The same people who trusted Stack Overflow and, sudo rm-rf their entire directories by accident. I think those two people are the same.
Yeah, that's funny. It's true. There's a lot of people who don't know how to, are getting away with doing things they don't know how to do, and they're using AI to do that. I stuck something. I wrote an article that isn't out yet. It's pending, but I did comment on LinkedIn that people who think real coders aren't going to be required because Clive and Cursor and CoPilot are so absolutely amazing at creating code is nonsense. Like at the moment, I've gotten really good at writing code 20 to 30x faster than I ever wrote it in the past. But there's a solid 10% of garbage in there that if you don't know how to write code, you just wrote a big pile of garbage. And I don't know how that's going to change in the near future, but it is solid at making mediocre coders excellent.
Yeah, and there's a Harvard study that backed that up, I think with MBAs as well, right? Where the top talent just did marginally better, but the okay talent did a lot better in terms of scores, right? So it's sort of
right here.
Leveling the playing field, so to speak. The problem is that that playing field only exists for a certain amount of years because then once you rely on it, you're not actually being creative. You're just regurgitating what it says, and so you lose those skills.
Yeah, it's gonna be very strange in a few years. We've had a lot of internal discussions about how people who best use AI are going to be, and even advertising agencies and marketing and anybody who's really leveraging it right now, has got this like step change in how good they're doing compared to the people who are not using it at all.
Yeah.
But that step change only matters until everybody catches on, which is, I don't think it's that far in the future.
Yeah. We'll see.
Oh, wait.
We got 2 more, mostly Elon stuff. So this is the crazy stuff at the end. The DOGE website
Where
was
did you find what this gig is he? This is the weirdest.
well, it was on Wired or something like that, but it was a paywall. So I found this.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not hacked. It was open for anyone to update. So Doge launched this entire website where they have receipts of everything they found, good and bad. There was like a whole, there's a billion people on Social Security, but it was just a COBOL date thing. Weirdly enough, I kind of like it. I'm a big fan of Sunshine. So it's like if this is what they're finding and they don't really find that much, doesn't that kind of say we've done an audit? It's not that big of a deal. It goes both ways, right? It's either we cut stuff and that's great, or we don't cut stuff because we haven't found the typical amount of fraud that we think we're supposed to find, which is also good news, right? Seems like it's one of those exercises that businesses do, and you're just like, do we really need to do this? Like, okay, well, if it finds a bunch of stuff, good. No. Anyways,
Yes.
that's my hot take. You can WTF it in the comments.
Okay, there we go.
But yeah, I mean, he's got his 19 to 26-year-old coders, and they're building websites that they leave open for updates.
Yep. This site is a joke of a gov site. Quote.
Yeah, and then the last one we have Grok 3.
Can only assume same coders.
Not quite. I just found this X post about it. Anyone can get access to Grok 3 by running this in console before creating a new chat. Grok 3 came out. It did set a bunch of benchmark records.
That's true.
Although, yeah, apparently it's pretty good. It doesn't have all of the AIs in some of those benchmarks, and obviously, developing for a specific benchmark changes things. But yeah, apparently they want to come out and have a $30 a month super Grok chatbot that you can have if you're verified on X. And the way that they did this, they trained it with, I think, one of the largest GPU data centers right now in Memphis, Tennessee, right? That they basically hooked up diesel generators to. That's how much power it's sucking up. Yeah, they don't have enough in the grid.
He's trying to buy nuclear.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look at how fast we got. I like how it's just patched.
Yeah.
Doesn't work anymore. Like, dude, put this somewhere quieter. Don't put it on X and tag him.
Yeah.
Put it on Blue Sky.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Yeah.
That'd be
just so we can all find out first. But I mean, yeah, it's another one of these, like, this whole episode has had quite a few like hack moments that you're like the exact opposite of that AWS absolute deep dive. These are just like it's just too easy in too many cases. Particularly, it seems, with anything Elon Musk is doing at the moment or rushing out.
Yeah, things are moving fast. Move fast and break things. So expect for other crazy stories. We're back here in a few weeks again. Hit that little bell button so you know we're going live.
All right.
Find all the articles in the description. What else?
That's about it. I'm Steve. He's Mike. Thanks for watching Wired In.